It's in the wee hours of the morning here in London, cusping between Saturday and Sunday in the middle of the night, and I just had one of those kind of late night brainstorms that I really wanted to share with you before I kind of stumble off to bed. And it stems from I had a really nice evening with a friend of ours, a family near and dear friend of ours, actually godfather to my youngest daughter, Jeremy Quinn, the mighty Quinn. And it got me thinking about a lot of things. He very generously, he works in IT, and he particularly is an Apple aficionado, and he very generously and very open-heartedly effectively, well, gave Kendra an iPad. I mean, that just, something that he used. He's upgraded, and he's got this thing kicking around, and he effectively gave it to her, and she was absolutely over the moon. Very kind, very generous, and just fantastic gift. And she took to it just like a house on fire. And it's just it was amazing. It was really nice to see and to enjoy the moment and have them really have a good connection. And it kind of led me to something about just that, about connecting, people connecting. And I mean, I'm a dad and I'm a parent, and here's somebody else who's not necessarily blood per se, but definitely part of their lives, my kids' lives, whom we've their mom and me, dad, have seen as some people. We have godparents. I mean, I'm not a religious man, and neither is their mom, but definitely she's a woman of faith and spirituality, and I have my kinship with that as well, and it's in its various shapes and forms. It just doesn't take the form of kind of an organized religion, I have to say, but that's a philosophical or another conversation for another time. But the idea of a godparent is that the values and the input and the feedback and just all the positives that other people can bring to our lives that I think are absolutely precious and treasures with which to be really kind of cuddled and held onto. I mean, I hardly have all the answers. I mean, I in many cases as a dad, I learn as I go, do the best I can, and sometimes it doesn't work. I trip and fall flat on my face, and kids are very good about letting us know that, and that's great because there's that level of accountability that isn't necessarily something that looking around the world, accountability is kind of a one-way street, as I've seen. I mean, I don't want to get into that conversation either, but I mean, just looking around the world at how the whole economies have collapsed, and yet that kind of who's been held accountable has been completely just sidelined, and actually we're the ones who've been held accountable because we're the ones who've foot the bill, and which is why many people have kind of gone on to find creative ways to empower themselves, to find other opportunities, to become their own bosses, create their own enterprises and their own ventures, and really have kind of the new landscape with the internet and the new global and micro and macro economies that are developing around the world. Not just also change is afoot, not just because of not just political change or philosophical change, but spiritual change, financial change. I mean, the Arab Spring is an example. You've got Myanmar, one time Burma is opening up. You've got countries around the Africa's nations that are really going through. You've had a recent inauguration in the States where whether you believe in political systems or not, I mean, it gets people thinking, and when you have a world where one thing for certain is uncertainty, to have that kind of level of foundation and footing and stability that comes from a community or friendships or families of other people. We're social creatures. We're social beings, and so the idea of a godparent is somebody who in fact we deem or see as godlike, godly, and they, bring to my kids' lives something completely extra that of themselves, their uniqueness that I can't bring, and I think for my kids, and for Kendra in particular, Jeremy adds immense value, not just because he was very generous with gifts and IT. Excuse me, I got the dishwasher running here, or just actually, is that? No, it's God knows what that is. Probably flooding the place for all I know. But yeah, I mean, it's a great privilege to have someone not only receive the invitation to do that, but then to honor with actually taking part in that and actually becoming a part of that generously and openly and open-heartedly, and actually stepping into that role as they see it. I mean, I'm not here to dictate. I mean, it's just a title. It's just they bring themselves to the mix and to the picture, and for that I'm deeply, deeply grateful on behalf of Kendra, because I know in the long term, that'll be something that she'll cherish. And in fact, just to see her glee when they had their connection, they're talking iPad stuff and playing around with it. I mean, it was really, really something precious to watch. And I didn't break out the camera, which I could have done, but because sometimes, it's a case of, those are moments for them to have and memories for them. It wasn't for me to jump in and go click, click with the camera. But I just wanted to share that, when you have an opportunity to make those connections with other people, please, really cherish them. The value may not necessarily be immediately aware. It could be years down the road. And it's for that I'm deeply grateful and thankful for those people who have done the same for me in various other capacities. So on this late wee hour note, I just wanted to say thank you and namaste. So we'll see you on the next video. Good night.